Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mile High Insiders, giving it a second to breathe there, as Chad would say. I am Nick Kendell, along with Luke Patterson. Luke, it's been two shows since we've hooked up last. I know that I've missed a couple of shows there for a bit with move from Iowa City to the Quad Cities. You had your daughter's birthday last week. How'd that go?
Yeah, I had daughter's birthday 2 weeks ago. Little girl turned 7, and then 5-year wedding anniversary with my
That's
wife
right.
last weekend. So, yeah, we've been mixing it up, doing different shows. Things have been awesome. But I texted you really late last night saying, dude, let's bring it tomorrow. I can't wait to talk to you. It's been a while. So I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped to talk Broncos because it seems like offensive line is talk of the town right now in Broncos country.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fun to be back. And as you guys can see, I actually have stuff in that empty bookshelf behind me now. I've been going through, sorry, we got the mirror effect here. Been going through old stuff, packing up before the wife and I move out to Seattle. I guess we announced that last week. So going through a bunch of stuff, and I just got a bunch of Bronco memorabilia and stuff from my childhood and just collected. So I'm like, you know what? Toss it up there. That way nobody can complain, say, empty bookshelf, no more. So, guys, this is the Mile High Insiders podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine Saturday evening. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Subscribe to our show wherever you listen to these podcasts and leave us a rating. The biggest thing for us, especially for YouTube, if you're listening on YouTube and you're not a subscriber right now, make sure you do that. Like, subscribe, share. It can help us reach so many new listeners. And it's if you're listening on YouTube and you're not subscribed, why not? Let us know what we can do to get you subscribed. We want you so that way when our shows go live, you get that ping, you know we're going. And it's not just our show, it's the Building the Broncos podcast. It's Dub Valley Deep Divers. It's the Huddle Up podcast. So make sure you subscribe. Also, don't miss all of our great off-season content at milehighhuddle.com, which is an affiliate of Sports Illustrated, the great and well-known Sports Illustrated. So, Luke, offensive line today. That is the talk of the town. And obviously, it's been, I mean, besides quarterback, it's been the talk of the town for probably the last 3-4 years, ever since Peyton Manning left. I mean, the offensive line, I think there's something to be said about the offensive line where, like, sometimes with defense, you don't, if somebody misses an assignment, the quarterback or the other team has to be good enough to exploit that on defense. But when the offensive line messes up, it's really easy to see that guy messes up. And it only takes once per game for them to really just scrub. They got to be perfect throughout the entire game. And when they don't, it's, I guess the boo birds come to town. And we found that out watching the Broncos the past few seasons.
Yeah, offensive line has been a nightmare for the Denver Broncos, specifically at the right tackle position, and I would even argue the left tackle position. Now, I think Broncos country can breathe a sigh of relief that they know Garrett Bowles is at least coming back. Unlike Jawan James, he did have his reasons. You have to respect that. Moving forward, though, it was a huge week for the Broncos. They had Dalton Reisner talk. He spoke about possibly changing a couple positions. I know we'll get into that a little bit later in the show, but you're exactly right. The offensive line, those 5 guys have to be so well connected. And that's something Reisner spoke about this week. And Lance Anderson wrote about it at milehighhuddle.com, talking about those comments of Dalton Reisner saying, look, it's my responsibility to know Lloyd Cushenberry's responsibilities as the starting center. If I had to move to center, I need to pride myself on all of these type of versatility options, just like Graham Glasgow, another guy that you and I have been pounding the table saying we're so excited that Graham Glasgow's in the house. So offensive line is huge. I can't wait to get a part of it, man. And the big uglies, you hardly ever talk about them, but in Broncos country, it's all anyone's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an issue for many years. I mean, when was the last time you felt good about the Broncos offensive line overall? For me, my mind comes back to the year. It might have even been Clady's rookie season or second year when they had Clady, they had Ryan Harris, and they had Chris Cooper. And that trio was amongst the best in the NFL that season. And they were pretty darn good. Granted, Mike Shanahan offense helped. Jay Cutler, who was showing promise at that point, the ability to escape the pocket. But ever since then, it's been an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes to show you that it's hard to find a quality offensive lineman now. And you see it trickling down from the college level. I know you and I are constantly looking at the next players available. You've already started your work. I know you have. I'm waiting a little bit towards December and January, but you're seeing quality offensive linemen come out into the NFL draft less and less now. And a lot of that can be argued, well, it's a passing offense, so you're not quite sure what you're getting. If it's a 1-2 step drop, or 3 or 5 step drop, you're getting rid of the ball in roughly 1 to 2 seconds. So it's hard to judge some of the offensive line play coming out of college and whether or not it's going to transition. Case in point, look at Garrett Bowles. Now, he did have his holding penalties and his issues there, but something Dalton Reisner talked about this week was saying Mike Munchak is going to, cover up a lot of those warts. And I think he definitely supported Garrett Bowles and had his back, and nobody should be surprised there. But for me, there were some things that he didn't say about Garrett Bowles. Like, Dalton Reisner said he's working his butt off, but he didn't quite say that about Garrett Bowles. He said you're going to see a player similar to the last 5 games of last season. Well, that's okay, but I still want better. So sometimes it's the things they're not saying that I try to pick up on. And this isn't a Garrett Bowles podcast bash, but for me, we're talking about the tackles because you've got your 3 interior guys already locked up. So it is what it is with Juwan James. Accept it and move forward. But now we've got a young guy not a young guy, I guess an old dog in the building today. In Demar Dotson, I guess is how you pronounce his last name. And to be quite frankly with you, Nick, I don't know much about this cat. I know that he was undrafted. He's right tackle, can play left tackle. He's 6'9", 315 pounds. Tried to look up some film on him. That's hard to find. You got to go a little bit way back in the archives. But this changes some stuff for the offensive line. You've got a couple offensive linemen that are versatile. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if Mike Munchak is going to experiment with several pieces on the O-line.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me in bringing in Dotson is that he's not going to be very expensive. A lot of people, the Broncos, I think, have the 4th most cap space after the Juwan James opting out. But there's not, you don't want to just spend money to spend money. You're going to have to pay him now next year. The cap is questionable next season. So just spending money to spend money is probably not the option. Dotson comes in that sweet range. I'm guessing he's going to be about $4 or $5 million for 1 year. It's kind of that Evan Mathis kind of deal. We're getting that journeyman. Who knows? There's a chance maybe he doesn't even make the team or he gets injured, but you're still getting that depth. And I think that's the most important thing. And also, I think it's very important. Dotson, I believe, will be right tackle only. I think this does make left tackle a little bit more of a competition where Garrett Bowles should feel pressure. Wilkinson obviously struggled last year. I think on tape, from what I could assess, I would say Garrett Bowles is the better player, but Garrett Bowles cannot rest on his laurels now. Wilkinson, right. They've always talked about him being more left tackle than right tackle. We'll see about that there. So I think that's good. You're going to need 6, 7, 8 offensive linemen throughout a season anyway. And after the Broncos tackles the top 2 tackles, especially with Wilkinson coming off PUP, Jake Rogers, after that, with Calvin Anderson, it's scary after that. It's really scary. So I think the biggest thing is the depth and the ability to go multiple directions, but also just potentially Garrett Bowles feeling a little bit of heat on his rump from Wilkinson at the left tackle position, which I think is really important for him.
I like that you bring that up a lot because to me that signals, maybe Dotson, they want to see what he can do. And, bless him, he's 34 years old. He's towards the end of his career. But if they could get by with it, because they've got to figure this out and they've got to figure it out now. It's something they didn't plan for. So, I like that. I like that maybe Dotson's going to be in the run for right tackle. One of the biggest concerns for me when everybody's talking about their feelings and being mad at Juwan James and all that other stuff, I think about Elijah Wilkinson. Now, a lot of folks say, well, he locked up a starting position now, so the guy should feel relief. Not at all. I think the guy would be frustrated. I would argue he's frustrated because he's been preparing again another year for the left tackle position, and he's being thrown in at a right tackle position where, he was competent, but man, he had his own troubles at right tackle position too. Make no bones about it. It's just one of those deals where you can't just throw together a makeshift offensive line. I like the idea of a swing tackle being able to come in. This cat's got some injuries to him, and Dotson from Tampa Bay was an undrafted guy going all the way back to 2009. I graduated high school in 2009, so he's an old dog. But I like the move that he's here. He's in the building. He's taking his tests, and we're all just kind of waiting on pins and needles. But all signs, Nick, seem to indicate that the Broncos are going to sign this cat, right?
Yeah, that's what it does seem like. But before we get too long down this track here, let's get to the chat real quick, see what's going on. Say hello to some folks. We got James Campbell in the house, Charlie Campbell, Dennis Elliott, Terry Randall. Good job last Thursday, Terry. That was nice.
Strong
Robert
work.
Skinner. Got a good number of people here. Let me see who else. Stu McPeak. Stu, you take down your Seattle picture as soon as I announce that I'm moving there. What's up with that? I think he's trying to hide from me. Jerry Holland coming in here. Looks like he's wearing the Drew Lock jersey, too. That's nice, Jerry. Kristen Morano. Thanks for joining us, Kristen. I'm from Facebook. We got Dylan Von Arks coming in. Glenn Hauser. Oh, man, we got a lot of familiar faces here. Some that I don't recognize as well. Jolene. also coming in. My Twitter feed always pauses about 3 seconds, so Facebook it is. Hey, Jolene, we appreciate you trudging through it with us to figure out the best way to listen to us. And we got a super chat coming in. David Kilgore. David, how you doing today? Do you guys see a really good fit, or do you guys see a really good first-round talent at right tackle in the 2001 draft, or is Denver getting a free agency for right tackle? I think that you can't really think about the exact direction you're going to go in the first round. You have to have multiple options, and that will depend on what happens in the draft. So you have guys like potentially, let me see, David Bakhtiari might be a free agent next year. They talked about the contract with him. There's Andre Villanueva, who obviously Munchak has experience with. There's some other ones as well. David Bakhtiari also played for CU. So maybe there's a homecoming imminent there. You don't know. The Broncos are stuck with Juwan James next year, just how the contract is. It's going to be rolled over. He's going to be a Bronco in 2021. I guess the positive in that regard is that you're not set up where you're going to have to replace both tackles because if you lose Garrett Bowles next season, which, it is what it is. But you do have Juwan James. I guess he's just a lottery ticket at this point, but you don't have to try to replace both at the same time. So, I mean, first you're going to go through the draft, or first you're going to go through free agency, see if you can patch those holes there, and then you just let the draft come to you. That's what the good teams do. You don't want to be stuck in any singular position in the draft. Even though I was preaching for wide receiver at this point a year ago, it was just because how many options that looked good in the first round for the Broncos. So, obviously, then turned out that way. Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, all first rounds, all in range for the Broncos. So it'll definitely be interesting there.
Yeah, it's a good question, David. And that tells me that you're a football nut, just like us, because you're constantly looking forward to the next draft. And we love the draft so much. Nick's already into it. I wait a little bit, but I don't know that many offensive tackle prospects, just to be completely honest with you. That being said, it's about get a Band-Aid now for offensive tackle. You might have one that can fill the need, but maybe you have a gem in this old dog. Maybe he can make it with Elijah Wilkinson. Maybe, sometimes it takes that swing tackle to make a season work. And guys are, that's a very important position. I know it can be scoffed at as, you're not a starting offensive lineman or starting tackle, but you're very much so a rotational player as soon as there's an injury.
So, we got Chad coming in here. If Dotson is signed as an 8-year starting right tackle, for what reason would the Broncos keep Elijah Wilkinson penciled in? Rock on, men. Much love, MHH. Thank you, Chad. I don't think they would keep him penciled in, but as that sixth guy who can play both tackle positions and both guard positions, I mean, it's just the reality of it, especially given the circumstance of the public health crisis we're in right now. You're probably going to end up seeing Elijah Wilkinson at some point, whether it be because of injury or sickness. So having that depth, I think, is extremely important in that regard, but more than it's ever been, especially with a weird abbreviated offseason. I mean, you could see some soft tissue injuries cropping up. So I don't know about having him penciled in unless he takes the job from Garrett Bowles, which, I mean, could happen. But I think that, having him as that super sub sixth guy, that's super important. There's a lot of value to that. And, don't just let the NBC Sunday Night Football where they announce the starters, that's always great. But the guys on the bench, especially for 6th, 7th guy on the offensive line, very valuable. You're going to need them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Elijah Wilkinson, one thing with Elijah Wilkinson, I constantly wonder, people often say Mike Munchak's got to be able to coach up Garrett Bowles and Garrett's got to be able to receive that. Well, last time I checked, Elijah Wilkinson is very coachable, and it's coachable so much so that he's able to be versatile. So why couldn't Elijah Wilkinson come in and compete for that starting left tackle position? I don't think it's probable that he will start, but I think he could give Garrett Bowles a run for his money. I think he's also going to be taking reps at the right tackle position. They're going to be moving him all over. And I think Dotson's the same way. They're going to try to figure out, what do we do? God forbid Garrett Bowles gets hurt. The guys, say what you want about him, he's been sort of an Iron Man. I mean, I know he got carted off and had what seemed to be a scary injury, and thank goodness it wasn't. But the guy's out there, and that's what Fangio said last year too. And for what it's worth, he's right. He's been training. He's been working out. I can make fun of his music video all day. But the fact of the matter is the guy is dedicated to his team. I just hope he's dedicated to himself because he's athletic. He's got the tools. I want him to put it together. Maybe he can under Mike Munchak. But you know what? Elijah Wilkinson can definitely respond to coaching under Mike Munchak as well. You hear him in some of these offseason interviews. He sounds mad. He sounds mean. He's already talking as if he's the starting left tackle. So I like it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Stu coming in. Oh, sorry, we missed that one. Go ahead, Terry. Use the force loop. Depth on OL is key. Terry could not agree more.
Thank you,
We also
Terry.
got Stu McPeak coming in here. Stu, really interested to hear from you both after having reviewed some tape on Dotson. Dotson, big, long, I think a better pass protector than a run protector. I'm curious how much of his struggles on tape are due to scheme and quarterback. Obviously, those are big things for any single offensive lineman. Offensive linemen tend to take more blame than they probably should in today's league because, again, it's obvious when they make a mistake. But Jameis Winston holds onto the ball a lot in the pocket and tries to throw the ball down the field into stupid windows. I mean, what did he do? Did he throw 40 in 40 last year? 40 touchdowns, 40 interceptions?
Yeah,
Something
he was like the 30 for 30 guy,
Yeah,
just absolutely. And for what it's worth, I'm going to, rag on Dotson just a little bit as a welcome to Broncos country if they do in fact sign him, which maybe we get that news tomorrow, pending test results, physical and other tests. You could use your mind to fill in that other test brain teaser there. But, as you look at it, he said Jameis Winston, he stuck up for his quarterback. He said Winston was his guy, but you're exactly right. You look at that kick step for me, and he's definitely lost a couple steps. He can get flagged for holding. Had to go deep in the archives to try to find some film on this cat. It's not, you can't just pull it up on YouTube, Demar Dotson highlights and start watching these clips like you can these 2019, 2020 draft picks.
Game Pass.
Yeah. You got to go back into Game Pass. You got to go in the archives. He's been a Tampa Bay Buck his whole career. I think he competed with Jeremy Trueblood or Youngblood or something like that for a little bit. And then there was another offensive tackle before they swung him from right to left. And that's another good opportunity for me to. Chad Jensen just wrote up an awesome article on a little bit of DeMar Dotson's history on milehighhuddle.com. So please go check that out and check out the Twitter at milehighhuddle. I got some swag I'm going to talk about. I finally got me some hat. I was complaining to Chad about it this morning, and he's like, dude, check your mailbox. It should have been there last week. So I finally decided to check my mail. I got my trucker hat. So you guys get your swag on and come over and support the Mile High Huddle crew. We've got awesome podcast, awesome writers, awesome staff that are just constantly on the Broncos beat. So I want to say a huge thank you to Chad. Appreciate my hat. I'm looking good, baby. Looking good.
And coming back to Dotson here, I think another thing that's really important to assess with him, I only touched on it for a second, but that Bruce Arians offense, it's kind of air raid before it's air raid. It's air Coryell technically, but they are pushing that ball down the field constantly. Let me see. Is that from the other room?
I think I know that young lady. This is my lovely wife, Gina, who listens to our show every single week. Thank you very much. Love the hat, Luke. She loves it, Chad. Yeah, thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Broncos country is a state of being in our household too. So we just go with the not a geographical location because that's exactly right. You can be anywhere and be a Broncos fan. So I appreciate that, Gina. Thanks, John. Wanna Beast on the ones and twos, checking that out for me. So no, you're exactly right, man. Dotson's got some troubles. He's got some concerns, but I think he's worth a look.
I mean, again, it's just getting depth. And from what I saw from Jake Rodgers last year, it did not look good. So that was a concerning part of it. But again, Bruce Arians' offense, he leaves the tackles on an island. It's very much attacking the ball down the field. And when you do that, so many deep shots, you're leaving the tackles vulnerable. So I think with Dotson, his length, even if he's lost his depth, he's so long, and you're going to have a little bit more quick passing here. Drew Locks takes quick dropbacks. Pat Shermer, it's not as conservative as Scangarello, but it is still a West Coast offense where they are going to have some timing stuff, some shorter stuff. So I think you can protect the tackles in that regard. It just feels better to have a more known quantity there, along with Wilkinson coming off PUP and Garrett Bowles being what he is at this point.
I like that you brought up his length because you're exactly right. The dude's 6'9", 315 pounds. So he's a bruiser, and he's not a sloppy 315 pounds. He's an offensive tackle, solid 315 pounds. So I like it. Just real quick off the top of my head, they have 2 roster slots available, right? With Jeff Hireman and Juwan James right now, and Kyle Pecco.
I'm not sure because they have to get it down. I know if due to the state of public health right now, some teams are going to get it lower. Right, I don't think they have to get it. I think they can get down to 80, but they don't have to. Maybe
country, if you can help us with that a little bit, because I'm wondering that right now, because we know Hireman was cut almost 2 weeks ago. You're able to see what it looks like with these players that are opting out. So I'm wondering just how many spots are available for the Broncos right now.
Opted out too.
Yeah, so it could be 2 to 3 slots.
Yeah.
So I mean, to bring in the full one. Yeah, to bring in an offensive tackle and take a look at him, I think it's definitely worth it. And, I think right now, this is why Mike Munchak was hired. he's got to make a quick decision. He knows this cat. Mike Munchak watches film of all the offensive linemen, not just the Denver Broncos. So he knows the offensive tackles, and if he's saying it's worth it and worth a try, let's do it.
Yeah, and again, I'm not expecting him to come in and be great, but if he can just, provide depth and be competent for $4 million in 1 year, that's what good teams do. It's those quiet moves. It's not a splash, but it is a ripple, and those can add up. So we got Richard Pasha coming in here. Richard, good to see you. I haven't seen you before. He says, "Hey guys, first live pod. I've made it in a while." Richard, thanks for joining us today. We really do appreciate that.
Thank you, Rich.
I would love to see OA go get Reisner's old teammate Scott France to compete at right tackle. I think he deserves an NFL opportunity. Thought. Honestly, I'm surprised that Scott France is not picked up. I thought he was pretty good. I think he's more of a interior player. I don't think he has the athleticism. He's not a dancing bear by any means. That being said, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much. Scott France is, there might be some issues with him in the locker room for some people because he is he's gay. Let's just call it. Let's not dance around it. He's gay. And I know that sometimes that can be an issue for some people in the locker rooms. And even, I don't want to go down a PC narrative here, but in some locker rooms, for some people, that's a problem. So maybe that's a reason he's not signed right now. But I think his tape definitely warrants a chance to make an NFL roster at the very least.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I started smiling because I hadn't thought about that. That's a really interesting thought. I'm surprised he's available also. I agree with you. It's hard for him to get his feet underneath some of that weight sometimes. And, although I'd love a Reisner reunion, just like you're seeing Alberto and Drew Lock, it just kind of makes me wonder, where things are at, what it's like, even the schematics of getting guys in and out of Denver, trying to get these tests done, stuff like that. They've got to make decisions on whether or not those things are worth it, because it's not as easy as it once was to just fly out a player and have a player work out and then sign them. So I think sometimes you can go a little bit deeper. Don't know what the practice squad situation would look like. Right now we're just trying to focus on an active roster. So I like it, Rich. I appreciate you tuning in. And that was a great question. You want to see college teammates come together in the NFL if they're good players. And sometimes you do see that. It's very rare, but sometimes you do see it. Love the question, Rich. Thank you for tuning in, pal.
Yeah, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you again on some more live shows. Let me get a little bit more of that background there. I can never get because it's flipped for us. But we got Manny Weiss coming in here. How strong do you guys think the linebacker core will be? I think that the Broncos linebacking core is not going to be anything that is competing for the top units in the NFL. It's not going to be in the top 5, but I think that as long as they stay healthy, they should be good enough. There are going to be times where, especially in this division, when you have so many good tight ends that they're going to go against, there are going to be times where the linebackers are going to look not great because they get schemed up, and guess what? The other team takes advantage of it. There's not really that speed coverage guy that a lot of great linebacking units have, but Todd Davis is steady Eddie. He doesn't mess up very often. The last year he was one of the, I think, 5 linebackers who played 100 snaps in the slot, which Todd Davis, bless his heart, he's not a coverage linebacker, but he went out there, he executed as he could, and he's really good in the box. He's also the play caller, not the play caller, but the signal caller of the defense, the green dot. So very smart player, doesn't make many mistakes, not missing many tackles. And now Alexander Johnson, a lot of energy, very good in the red zone, has that length, just tenacious. Again, not really a coverage guy though, but uses that length a little bit to help cover some of that up. But I think they should be fine. It's a position where if there's a 3-down linebacker next year that you love in the first round of the draft, or somebody that you want to pay to take you over to the top and move on from Todd Davis because he is good and solid, but he's not really a difference maker, then you can do that. But overall, I think linebacking core should be fine.
Manny, that's a really good question. Appreciate your support, and I like that Bronco flag that you got in the background there. That's super cool. Nick and I were talking about all kinds of gear. Nick's wearing a cool old shirt right now, so I immediately noticed your flag. That's awesome, Manny. I appreciate the support, brother. I honestly think this is a huge concern for the Denver Broncos, the linebacking core. I think that if they can be average, that's a win for the Denver Broncos. I don't think that they're severely in trouble, but I think that they're going to have to scrape to get by because of those passing darn tight ends. They plague the Denver Broncos linebacking core. They really do. And, it's one of those things where the linebacking position is changing. You're not getting the Al Wilson, Zach Thomases of the world, the Brian Urlachers. You got to get some guys that are a little bit leaner, that linebacker safety hybrid, that can try to cover tight ends, can fill the safety role, linebacker role a little bit. So it's an evolutionary position right now, and it seems like the Broncos have the old school linebackers, and I'm talking about Alexander Johnson, and he's got the dinosaur dance. It's the coolest thing ever, but he can't cover at all, and that drives me nuts because it's not that he doesn't want to, it's that he just doesn't have that ability. He is going to play his heart out for you, and same with Josie Jewell, but gosh darn it, you can't coach speed. So I think it could be, the sheriff is down.
I know, just that was what it's very reminiscent of the 2000.
I don't think, and you know what he said? I was making fun of Alexander Johnson's dinosaur dance, and that's when it happened. So maybe I got to watch my mouth when 18 is in the background there. But
I heard something moving. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, no, man, I think that's a good question. I think the Broncos would be happy if they could be average. I'm curious to see what Watson's going to do, the CSU kid. He seemed like a project linebacker to me for a couple of years now. I think Vic has shown some interest in him. I don't know how much time Vic's been able to work with him or craft him, just because time is something that's very precious right now with these guys and trying to even get time with the starters. So hope to be average at best from the linebacking core for the Broncos.
There, just one thing you said, I can't let it go. I'm sorry. I grew up Eastern Iowa, so I know a good bit about the Bears. Brian Urlacher was a phenomenal coverage linebacker. He actually played safety at college and then moved to linebacker in the NFL because he was such a freak athlete. I mean, 6'4", 250 pounds, and he moved like that. He was able to drop essentially from the middle linebacker.
You're right, but he was the only one, right? I mean, the only big dude that can really cover. I mean, Lawrence Taylor, he's a pass rusher, linebacker. Rusher. Yeah, you're not going to be seeing him. So yeah, you're right. I take that back.
Just to give an example, I'm like, Brian Urlacher was a safety in college. Like, you literally said, we need the safety linebacker hybrids. I'm like, that was the big selling point for Urlacher. And he came in and could play that Tampa 2 where he could drop so far back from that linebacker position. He was essentially the midfield safety because he was such an athletic freak back there. But anyway, that was just like, we got to get that one right. We're not going to disrespect Urlacher like that. He's too good. All my friends from high school would come beat me up.
It's the barbed wire tattoo thing. I just can't get past the hair plugs. I'm good with. It's just the hair plugs. I just can't get past, the barbed wire tat. No, I take it back. You're right. He was a good coverage linebacker. I guess I was just thinking, like, when I think of Urlacher, I think of that power, that just bulky classic linebacker thoroughbred that you wanted in the 80s and 90s. And, it just doesn't seem like we're that size of linebackers right now. Even edge rushers are getting leaner and longer. And you look at the Bosa brothers. So I take it back. Any Chicago Bears fans, if you're here, get out. This is a Broncos country only. Nick, take it easy.
That's okay. I was like, that one, that's not ringing true. Zach Thomas is the one that rings very true for me, where box player, he would just get annihilated in today's NFL. So Don't tell that to Dolphins Twitter. That people bring that up and they just absolutely lose their minds. We got Larry Vaughn coming in. Larry, I haven't seen you before. It looks like a nice beer you're rocking there. Could we release James next season without any kind of violations due to him opting out the season? No, the Broncos could not. I guess violations is the wrong word. They could move on from him. That poster is just going to come down. It's just like Peyton Manning at the end of the career. I can just hear it.
You hear that? I might make fun of Brian Urlacher, but he's dropping Peyton. So man,
Peyton.
Tough.
We saw Peyton. Unfortunately, guys, I've been to 7 Bronco games in my life. I'm 0-7, and I saw that game where Peyton Manning got, I think it was his last game, and after that he just totally fell off. It was that game in 2014 against the St. Louis Rams. And that was the game where Emmanuel Sanders got lit up and had the concussion, and they lost to the horrible Rams. So I'm 0-7, guys. It's not great. I need to just pay me to not go to the games. But Broncos releasing James, unfortunately, the 2020 contract just kicks over to 2021. So the way that his contract is set up, you just have to eat so much dead money to move on from him. It makes more sense just to have the lottery ticket and hope it works out, but not depend on it, I guess is the way to look at it.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Larry. I appreciate you tuning in. Love the Broncos gear you're rocking as well, man. That's awesome. It's awesome to see so many people wearing Broncos gear. You're stuck with him. That's just the way it is. And I don't know if you're Jawan James, he just can't get on the field, really. So maybe he doesn't even play next year. Maybe he quits football altogether. I don't know. Hard to guess, but basically in a nutshell, he's going to get between 150 or 350K. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but that designation of high versus low risk will be ultimately determined by the NFLPA.
I believe so.
Yeah, so we have yet to hear kind of how that's working. We know that these guys are opting out right now, and the season hasn't quite started yet, even though they're, well, I guess, yeah, they'd be getting paid every 2 weeks or every week right now, right? They're in training camp, so they should be getting weekly paychecks. So I'm curious to see when those designations start coming, and I think as soon as they're reported, you're going to see it in mass, what guys are getting, 150 or 350, and be ready for that, Broncos country. Guys are going to be, and gals are going to be upset that Juwan James is getting anything at all. But you know what? It was his right. We got to respect that, and we got to move on. But something I heard from a member of Broncos country on Twitter, and I'm forgetting the username right now. It's going to eat me up. But this could be a rallying cry for the Broncos. This can bring some teams together. If, hey, I know you're here for me, I'm here for you, we're here for one goal. You don't see any coaches opting out right now. I see these guys running wind sprints, Nick. I see the offensive line, Graham Glasgow, Dalton Reisner, saying they're leaders of the team. It kind of has this old school feel to me, and I like it. I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, Vic Fangio kind of brought that last year. Also, Vic's looking good. I know he lost that weight, but
Vic's looking great.
So good for Vic, man, taking charge of his own personal health. We got Kevin Peterson coming in here. Also, Kevin, good to see you. What's up, fellas? Glad I made it to the pod tonight. Kevin, we're glad you made it here with us. And also, nice picture of you and Dalton Reisner there. Also, I saw Eclipse Stormborn is with us. Hey, how you doing, Eclipse? Good to see you here today. Apologize for your tardiness. Hey, just don't let it happen again. No, I'm just kidding. We appreciate you. We appreciate you coming on here. And I think it was Buana, he says, talking about Watson and Hollins, kind of the designation of outside linebacker or inside linebacker versus edge rusher. And I think that versatility is key. But really, for them to make the team, I think the biggest marker for them will be their special teams impact. I mean, we have obviously it's something that's boring. It's not the defense, and it's really been an issue for the Broncos for years, it seems like. But if one of those guys can bring more on the special teams, whether it be punt or kickoff coverage / units, then that's probably going to be the difference maker between if those guys make the team.
It's how you get your bones in the NFL. It's how you make your bones. It's how you ultimately get a starting position. Who is more loved right now other than Drew Lock? I'd say Justin Simmons in Broncos country right now. And how did Justin Simmons' career start? Starts blocking PATs and field goals and doing all these things on special teams. So you look at some of these players that have come in the mid to late rounds, and it is their responsibility to fill their role on special teams. Another reason why you're being thrust into the game. Special teams are tough. I get it. It's tough to talk about special teams. I will not talk about the kicker that much just because it's not fun. McManus is cool. We can talk off-field stuff with McManus, but it just is. It is what it is. But in terms of kickoff, I want kickoff coverage. I want punt coverage. Tom McMahon has got his hands full with making sure that these young group of rookies can contribute on the special teams because that's the expectation, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. And one of the good things for the Carl Bishop coming in a few times here. Carl, thank you so much.
Thanks, Carl.
But the special teams is super important. That's how these guys got to make the team. And for the Broncos, also for the past few years, they've been getting these compensatory picks. They had a bunch of picks from trading back and just trading players because they've been out of playoff contention pretty early in the season. They have a bunch of players on rookie contracts. They have had typically bigger rookie classes. So that, in theory, means that those special teams units, the depth of the team should be better. So we'll see if that comes to play out. I know that 2 years ago's draft was a little smaller because the Broncos did some trading around in order to get Drew Lock, and that kind of ate up some of that draft capital, which I think it was worth it in the end. But, we'll see. It's a put up or shut time for the special teams coach as well. I mean, I'm surprised he survived this offseason.
Yep. Yeah, I think this is it, man. He's got to figure it out. It's got to be one of those things. Go show me, put it together, and these young cats, there's no excuse. I mean, I talk about it. It's boring, but last year at training camp, first drill I saw was the guys tackling bags and wrapping up from their knees. So Fangio's teaching the fundamentals because he expects that to happen. You cover punts, you cover kickoffs. You do not allow Tyreek Hill to score on special teams. He's already going to score on offense. You can't stop that, but you cannot let the Kansas City Chiefs eat you up in the special teams because that's what they've been doing. I mean, and it's been a little while, I think, since the Broncos have had a special teams touchdown of their own, right? I mean, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I can't think of one off the top of my head either. Chad, if you can remember one, I think there maybe was a.
How long has it been?
I can think of the blocked extra point or the blocked field goal against the Saints. That would have been 4 years ago.
When Simmons was a rookie, right?
Yeah, Simmons and Will Parks kind of tag teamed that one.
Yeah, exactly.
But
They illegally, what is now illegally jumping over the center, I think is how they should call that the Simmons rule.
Well, Simmons is quite an athlete, so it's definitely works in that regard. But yeah, that's the one I can think of last. Maybe even a blocked punt. I can't think of any off the top of my head. So that is that's unfortunate.
Tough.
I mean, and also they just have been struggling in regards to they've been giving them up. But part of that also is David Tube's an incredible special teams coach. Andy Reid surrounds himself with good coaches, and they have Tyreek Hill. I mean, when you have Tyreek Hill, it's kind of like when they had Dante Hall. You're going to get some when you have the fastest player in the game.
Oh, Dante Hall. That name still haunts me and makes me mad. I mean, that guy was an absolute freak. I mean, I don't think he ever gets the credit that he deserves because I couldn't save his life. Yeah, I couldn't. Oh, special teams. He's like that Devin Hester. You know, they do that one thing and they do that one thing very exceptionally well. But their position, they're that athlete on the field that you need. Not quite the football player, but the athlete on the special teams unit. So, you know, the Broncos, they're hoping they can get that with KJ Hamler. But you and I have talked about it. We caution folks on that. He's never scored a touchdown in college. So on the special teams unit. So I think to immediately expect the rookie's going to come in and field the punt, which always makes me nervous. I mean, how many times in, the last few years have we seen muff punts from Broncos guys that are trying to catch the ball and drop it and everything else? I mean, my heart is in my throat anytime a Broncos receiver that wasn't named Emmanuel Sanders was back there, because I at least knew that he was going to catch the ball the few times that he was in. So special teams, these guys got to come out. If they want to get a job, play special teams, plain and simple.
Yeah, and actually, good job, one. I was actually going to bring up that one. CC, don't recognize you, but good to see you around here. Good to CC you. I can see Tyree Cleveland making a name for himself next season. Was a very good gunner and can return. I mean, that's why the Broncos drafted him with the second to last pick in the 7th round. He's a height, weight, speed guy, and even if he never takes a snap as a wide receiver, if he can come in and be a great gunner and a special teams guy, there's value to that. That's a 7th round type of value. So, I mean, I think he was a 5-star recruit for Florida too. So that athleticism has always been there. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he can make the team because of that. I think it's more likely, especially because of a weird offseason and the expanded practice squads, that you will see Tyree Cleveland move to the practice squad this year for the Broncos and not be poached. But I mean, if he makes a name for himself, then that is what it is. Charlie Beagle also comments here. He'll need a raincoat fund too, as well as the latte fund. I just got a raincoat today. I think Columbia had a super sale, so the wife took care of that. God bless the wife.
Yeah, she's got to put up with you. I mean, God bless her.
God.
Yeah, no, that's
his own thing.
Yeah, she's got her chores. So, yeah, no, man, it's for me in trying to switch back to the offensive line a little bit. One thing that's really bothered me, and I wanted to get to it immediately, was do not move Dalton Reisner. Let's not do that. Let's stop the conversation right now because nobody's hurt yet. Knock on wood. Trying not to make sure that anybody's going to get hurt in the NFL is like thinking hope's a strategy, right? It just doesn't work. These guys are going to get hurt, but until it's broke, don't fix it. I like Dalton Reisner at the left guard position. Why? Because he's going to be working with Lloyd Cushenberry, your rookie starting center, projected. That's what we all have penciled in. Then you've got Graham Glasgow that can also play center at the right guard position. So you've got your interior figured out. Bowles is what he is on the left tackle. Don't know if Wilkinson's going to be competing there. Something we're hoping to see. But if you could get Dotson or Wilkinson in at the right tackle position, that's really what we're looking at. Do not move Dalton Reisner to the left tackle. I hear you. Those of you saying he can play right tackle because he did in college, I hear you. He can play right guard. He can play center. Heck, I think he could play 4 out of the 5. I don't think he can play left tackle. I don't think he has that quick kick step, that left kick step that he really, really needs. He operates in that phone booth very well at guard. He was able to bully some guys in college in Kansas State with that program there, but I don't like him at left tackle. I hate that take. It's been driving me nuts for the last few days. I understand why people are saying it, but for the love of God, do not move Dalton Reisner to left tackle. Don't move him at all.
You're talking about taking a guy to putting him at, I think, at either tackle position, but making him maybe a C- level player and moving him from a B+ level player at guard. So
exactly.
I think you're hurting everybody there when you're doing that. So I'm not about that. I think it's a lot of people doing mental gymnastics because they are in love with how they perceive and the potential of Netane Muti. So they're like, oh, the 6th-round pick who could have been the best guard in the class if he was healthy, but he has just a horrifying list of injuries. Not just how frequent they are, but how severe they are. But with Glasgow's contract, with drafting Cushenberry, with Reisner here, where is Muti play? He's a lottery ticket. I mean, if he plays and he's good enough to play and healthy, then that's a good problem to have. Then you deal with that when that time comes. But I mean, there's probably an equal chance that we never see him. Like, honestly, because the injuries he had have been horrible. And we saw what happened to Clady after the Liz Frank injury. And he's had a Liz Frank injury on top of that, or on top of other injuries. So we'll see. But I agree with you. I think if the push comes to shove, you could put Reisner at right tackle, but it'd kind of be more like that Luis Vasquez situation where they put him at right tackle just because they had so many injuries and it did not look good. And it was kind of a disservice to that individual player as well. But sometimes the injuries happen and, you just got to deal with it. But I just don't think it's a position for him. I mean, also people say he played right tackle at Kansas State, but how many NFL edge rushers did he go against at Kansas State? I can think of one game, and that was against Kansas State, and Montez Sweat gave him issues. Not as many issues as the interior offensive line had for Kansas State against Jeffrey Simmons, who is an absolute tank, and I love, and I can't wait to watch him week 1 against the Broncos interior offensive line. Knock on wood for week 1. Yeah, gosh. I mean, I like players. I like my defensive linemen. Yeah, I think that's a take where people, I think, are trying to bend backwards to make room for Muti. And I don't. If Muti is good enough to play, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But that's a ways off yet.
Yeah, leave him where he's at. He's doing great. People are already projecting him to be a Pro Bowler. One of these guys that's eventually going to etch his name and there's a Ring of Famer 10 years down the road. That's what we all want to see. Don't ruin that. Don't ruin that. The guy came in and started 16 games as a rookie, 2nd-round draft pick. So while he gives a great interview, and for those of you who haven't heard Dalton Reisner speak, go listen to him. He gives a great interview, loves to talk to the media. I think he's got a career, shown a lot of interest in the media after football, maybe switching gears there like a lot of athletes and NFL players do. Dalton Reisner saying that he's taking snaps, that he takes some sets at tackle and stuff like that. That's just who he is, okay? That's who he is. That's not him being instructed by Mike Munchak to go out there and start preparing to play offensive tackle or center if they're moving Glasgow and Kush. No. You've got your left guard locked down. You just paid a right guard. You got your right guard locked down. You just drafted a center who seems to be very promising with potential, but still very raw. And there are going to be a lot of flaws, but you camouflage those with Reisner and Glasgow. And you and I have been hammering on it, and I think we're the really only ones. I know Chad touches on it, Eric touches on it a little bit, but here at Mile High Huddle, it feels like we're the only ones that are pumped to have Graham Glasgow. I mean, I think that he is – you want to talk about Dalton Reisner and some of Reisner's comments? Go listen to how he talks about Graham Glasgow. Dalton Reisner saying, I want to be Graham Glasgow. I want to get his leadership. I want to know how to work in the offseason, how to prepare my body, how to, be physically and mentally ready. Absolutely. And deservedly so. So I think, John Elway's looking at this offensive line, trying to build it from the inside out right now. And man, tackles, let's give it a heck and see what happens. But to your point, real quick, Dalton Reisner, at right tackle, wouldn't you already just have Elijah Wilkinson there? I mean, come on. Let's just already have it's already going to be a C-ish performance anywhere. So why not leave that C performance on the right side and leave the A plus at the left guard position intact?
Yep, I agree with you there. And Glenn, haven't seen Nick's cup tonight. Did he already pack the brewskis? Glenn, I have been nursing an ulcer, so I am on an alcohol hiatus right now, or whatever is in my cups. Sorry, Chad. But yeah, definitely. We got actually, it's Roberts real quick. Can Morris do RT? Morris is absolutely tiny. The only position he could play is center. Like he's tiny, so he can't even play guard. He's that small. But he's very, very athletic, tiny. so not playing right tackle. I would want to get a picture, honestly, of Dotson next to Morris because just absolute 6'9" versus good athlete, but stubby little guy. So we got a Pabby coming in here. Luke, you want to say anything here?
Yeah, what's up, Abby? We appreciate your support so much. Guys, be sure to go ahead and check out all of our swag. We got some Mile High Insider swag going on right now. We've got t-shirts and hats. I just ordered my stuff today, Nick. I don't know if you've got your stuff yet, but I'm pumped to open up that stuff and check it out.
I'm waiting until I have my official address in Seattle.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I know you're during the move and everything like that, but no, Pabby's got some gear en route right now, so I know she's pumped to get it, pumped to rep it, pumped to wear it. So you guys be sure to go ahead and get your swag on and check out all our stuff at Mile High Huddle, including podcasts, writing. We've got tons of gear from face masks to coffee mugs to hats to shirts. We've got so much content, Nick. It feels like anytime I'm going to the website just to see what's going on, I've got 5 or 6 things I need to look at. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. We've got an awesome staff. So definitely want to check in with you guys and say thank you for rocking with us here on Saturday night.
And Terry, Nick's Latte Fund, I appreciate you. I won't lie to you. I'm a dairy guy at heart. So black coffee is fine, but I'd prefer a little creamer in there. And lattes are pretty darn good if I am willing to spend on it. So I do miss beer, though. Yeah, lattes are pretty darn good. So we got Dom coming in here. Great podcast guy. Dom, I like your artwork there. It looks like you did it yourself, maybe. Nick's Pepto Fund. That's been
nice work, James. I love it. That was really good.
Nick's Omeprazole Fund. That's been the go-to, which has been helping, but I'm still taking it a little easy. So yeah, I'm doing better, guys. That's good. But we got Reisner is a dancing bear. Learned that from Eric last night. I just don't know if he has the length and the foot speed that I would categorize as a dancing bear. Maybe a dancing panda bear, but I'm looking for a Kodiak grizzly out there.
I don't like that term, the dancing bear. To me, that seems goofy, and Reisner's not goofy. I don't like that term. I know where Eric's trying to go with it, because everybody loves a dancing bear, right? Well, everybody loves Dalton Reisner. In terms of his play, I don't quite agree with that. I think why he's a nice guy on the field, I think he's probably mean as hell on the field. I don't see him ever helping anybody up, even his own teammates. So that's exactly what I want in my offensive lineman. I want the nasties. I want the mean dudes. I don't want the dudes that are wearing arm sleeves and visors and have eye black on, wondering why they're getting holding calls.
Yeah, good call there. Here's a good question for you. Actually, we got Darian P coming in. Good to see you, Darian. How much media coverage is there at the training camps due to everything going on?
Yeah, this is tough right now. This is really tough. So essentially what they're doing is they call it Olympic pool style reporting, meaning that X amount of media are allowed in at specific times. Now, X amount of media does have to go through the exact same protocols that all the players do. So it's something that has been very restrictive right now. A lot of places are still waiting to hear from the Broncos. I know major radio outlets are waiting to hear from the Broncos. And right now, the Zoom press conferences are the most preferred thing that the Broncos want for the media right now, just because they can't risk anything. I mean, they've got camp going on right now. And, while that can be a little bit frustrating for the fan base and some of us in the media, we have to understand if we want football back, we just have to adapt and overcome. And that's something that we're all willing to do. But yeah, I think, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, is it August 12th? That's when football is actually going to get going in training camp. I think that's the big day. So get ready to see some reporters out there. And then you're seeing other reporters like James Palmer, who's going to be strictly out of Tampa Bay doing Tom Brady watch for the next couple of weeks. So you're going to have a very limited access of media right now. And it's going to be tough, but you know what? Say what you want about them. You've got a couple really good cats out there always in Mike Kliss and Jeff Legwald. Can't say enough good things about those guys. My guys, Cecil Lamian, all those guys at the Fan, huge friends of the show. And please go back and listen. Nick was on with Ryan and Benjamin Albright on Broncos Country tonight this last week, and got to give them a plug as well, because we've got excellent support from KOA, the Fan. Mile High Huddle Sports Illustrated is just growing and getting better, and we just have to ride these times out right now. The media coverage, it's limited. That's all I can say. It's limited. It seems like guys are going to be rotating in and out, and not all those guys and gals have been named just yet on who's going to be over there.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, it's not just the players that are having to have an odd season this year due to everything. But guys, we're going to get out of here pretty darn soon. Obviously, some station identification. This is the Mile High Insiders podcast. Find us on Twitter here at MHI_football pod. Also, just the umbrella of our entire work here, Mile High Huddle. Go there, see what's going on, see what everybody's writing about, see our audio content. And probably the most important thing for you guys, if you enjoy what we're doing here today, subscribe, like, and share. Drop a like or a heart on Facebook also. But for YouTube guys, if you're listening right now and you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that, man. Then you, when our shows come up, you'll get a notification and you'll be right along with us. So it'll let you know when we are about to go live. So I see they're talking about poutine in the chat here. Have you ever had poutine, Luke?
What is it?
Poutine.
I don't think I have. No, what is that?
Oh man, it is very good. I think I saw James describing it here. Fries / chips, gravy and cheese.
I know how to. It's called Putin.
That's the president of Russia.
It's Canadian. It's Canadian. Yeah. I have had that. Quick story. I've been to Canada a couple of times in Newfoundland, and they had, I guess it almost felt like a Thanksgiving dinner where all the fishermen would go away. The families would have kind of a big celebratory meal before they would leave and when they'd come back. And I specifically remember that. That's crazy. I appreciate that comment. No, I'm pretty sure it's Putin. Like they call it Putin, and with the little bit of that Canadian wonderful flair, that accent on the end that I'm probably just butchering.
Well, I'll have to check that out. I had someone last time I was in the Seattle area up in Port Angeles, and that was probably the last time I had it, and it was pretty darn good. I could see Vancouver across the way. So also Port Angeles, birth city of John Elway. So Chris Hernandez coming in here. Hashtag thumbs up. Chris, we appreciate you. He's having a hashtag Chris's beer fund there.
Super Bowl's got that Super Bowl 50, Chris, in the glass there. I love it, Chris. Absolutely love it.
So, yeah, no, we're going to be getting out of here pretty soon. Luke, anything on your mind that you want to talk about before we can wrap everything up and get on with it and let our listeners get on with everything they have going the rest of their fine Saturday evening?
Yeah, just a quick recap. I think the Broncos PR should be over the moon with the way that their team and their players have handled the interviews this week. I mean, my goodness, it's been writing / analyst gold. I mean, every single day it seems like we've got a quote to write up and a story to write up. And we're not just pulling these narratives, folks. These guys, Justin Simmons, Dalton Reisner, Von Miller. My Lord, you want to hear a great interview? Go listen to Von Miller and the way he talked this past week. You know, I just absolutely loved hearing these guys. I didn't feel like any of the questions to anything that were asked or any of the answers were insincere. I thought that these guys really spoke from the heart. They gave their honest feelings about how they feel about where they're at in training camp right now. I think sometimes you get the occasional company line here and there, but I mean, man, the Broncos have a really impressive nucleus of young and veteran players, and it gives me goosebumps to think, like, you know, these are bowling Broncos. These are guys Mr. B would want. You know, Justin Simmons is a guy Mr. B would want. Dalton Reisner, you know, Kareem Jackson. You look at these guys, just man. And Melvin Gordon, to see Melvin Gordon in a Broncos uniform, it's weird. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. Especially seeing another 25 and then seeing AJ Bouye at number 21. So I'm trying to adjust to see some of these guys, Nick, with the Broncos colors, because, man, it feels a little weird, man. I'm used to that powder baby blue and screaming at the TV against Melvin Gordon. No more.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll have to get used to it. Obviously, everything's going to – gosh, I hope we get used to it, because that means we have some sort of normal season. And I guess before we get out of here, and don't want to – not touch on it, but did you see my, I guess, postulation based on the Broncos, or not just the Broncos, the NFL going to a sort of bubble situation in the NFL this season? Because obviously the NBA is doing a smash-up job. I'm not a really big basketball fan, but they're doing a smash-up job. Baseball is failing every step of the way. I mean, baseball is not doing well. And with football, with how many players they have, everything, it's not feasible to have one bubble. But what about having 4 separate bubbles?
I did see that, and I think that was at your Twitter and get at Nick Kendell MHH. I did see that, and I liked it because it was something I hadn't really thought about. I mean, you think about throwing a bubble together for the NFL, and it's overwhelming, and it's like, how would this ever work? But they've got to be talking about that, right? I mean, they've got to. I don't know. It's obviously not going to happen right now, but you got to assume that things are being brought up, creative solutions or creative ideas rather, because there has yet to be a solution. But it excited me, man, because yeah, it's tough for me to follow basketball right now too. We're so just enthralled with the ramp up period that training camp is in right now, and we're excited to get to August 12th, which is right around the corner, and then we're going to have some actual football to talk about. But I liked it. I thought it was an interesting theory. One of the biggest things I liked about it was creative. It's out of the box, out of the bubble, in the bubble, if you will. But you look at the NBA success rate, and they're doing great from what I can understand and from what I'm reading. It's going to be tough with the fall coming because the fall has cold circumstances anyway, but I think you just got to take it day by day. I am encouraged by where the Broncos currently are at in terms of health right now, knock on wood. So I liked it, Nick. I thought it was a great idea. I think right now in today's world, we need more ideas. We need more people to encourage other people to think about something else. And, who knows? I would encourage people to go look at your Twitter and look at that idea of maybe getting some bubbles, because that could spark a whole nother conversation for another person to think of an idea. We got to have this conversation of, building this world up. And I liked it a lot, man. Good
Innovation.
stuff.
Innovation, and even if it's a little wacky, it's weird times right now. It's wacky time. So not so wacky. Pabby coming in here. Thank you. You guys rock. Best wishes for Nick's move to Seattle. Oh, bless you for that. I'm tired. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we'll stop in like Yellowstone or the Tetons driving out there. I'm sure I will miss you. So I don't think we're going to top that, honestly. So Pabby, we really do appreciate you. We're probably going to get on out of here. Luke, you're going to talk?
Yeah, no, Pabby, I'm pumped to see your gear, guys, and send us those pictures and stuff as you get your stuff. I got my hat today, and I know Chad hadn't even seen it yet. A Mile High Huddle hat. It was the Trucker Edition hat that was just released, embroidered, really, really clean. So absolutely love it. Huge thanks to the boss man at Chad Jensen for that. And be sure to get out all our work, guys. I mean, I constantly harp on it. We've got guys and gals working right now, across the world. We got Keith over there in Scotland, and who's a new father, typing up, stories in the middle of the night and early morning. We've got Lance from, our own podcasts and our own staff writing with a newborn. We've got you moving. You're still writing and still doing podcasts. So we're just so addicted to football and Broncos here at Mile High Huddle, man. So I thank you guys for rolling with us. This was a blast. It feels good to be back with you, Nick. And I love your Bronco stuff in the background, even if Peyton's going down.
Yeah, well, you know what? The bookshelf is very much like the Broncos 2015 defense, where it's just keeping him. He's still the head of the organization, but everything else is supporting him. So they haven't let him down yet. He's leaning on them, first time ever, but they're supporting him. So I'm glad you appreciated that one. But guys, we appreciate the heck out of you. That's going to be it for us today. Go find Luke on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP, and find myself on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. Make sure you go over to milehighhuddle.com, an affiliate of Sports Illustrated. Also go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. On YouTube, if you're listening right now and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Subscribe, and share. That does a lot for us. If you're on Facebook, guys, we see you too. We appreciate you. Hit the like button, hit the heart reaction. Does a lot for us, and it can help us continue to bring you our Denver Bronco deep dives almost every single day. Heck, every single day we bring your Denver Bronco deep dives. You can follow the Mile High Insiders podcast and all our other great audio content by subscribing to Huddle Up Podcast wherever you listen to your shows. Follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at MHI_football pod. Luke, what do you have going the rest of the night?
I think I'm going to kick back with some friends. I want to talk some more football, actually. I mean, it's I can't get away from it. I've got some neighbors I know that want to knock a couple cold pops back and talk football. I'm going to bug a couple of my guys, see if I could get any insight to how things are going over there, and hopefully get a text back. If not, I'll just annoy them. But no, man, I'm just looking forward to spending some time with friends and family. I know that it was probably a good break for you, packing and everything. I know that you're really stressed right now. So just be well, man. Be well. Yeah. Be well, because earlier, y'all, Nick was being so grouchy to me, and now I finally got him being a little bit nicer. So, no, man, Nick, it feels good to be back with you, buddy. I know it's so awesome to mix up the staff and everything like that, but Mile High Insiders, get at us every Saturday night at 6.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing for me with this ulcer and the move and everything is I'm not having hashtag Nick's Beer Fund right now, but I'm also not having caffeine and coffee, and that is killing me. I am coffee dependent at this point, and I'm feeling better, but I'm just trying to give myself 2 weeks before I'm dipping my toes in that. So we see a lot of people. There was one comment here. Somebody, we missed your question. Really apologize about that. Hopefully we can get to it next week. Andy Rocklovato, believe from Kansas. So Andy, get it back to us on Tuesday. Carl would never miss a Kansas person's question. So I can promise you that one.
And DM us and tweet us too, so we can get at you guys right away. We've always got our phones on us. Nick and I are constantly. Carl, everybody in MHH are always on Twitter, always available. Get at us immediately.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, 8:00 here at Central Time, 7:00 in God's time, Mountain Time out there. So we appreciate you guys. Really do. Hope you see you next week. If you love us, follow us on Twitter. We'll see you guys next week. I'll see you Tuesday. As always, go Broncos.